When the narcissist comes back after discard, remember this.
Have you ever opened your door expecting the milkman, only to find your narcissistic ex on the doorstep wearing their best church clothes? Before you let that two-faced snake slither back into your doormat life, let's analyze the sorcery behind their grand hoovering productions. These cunning chameleons emerge from hibernation feigning changed hearts, but it's just another masquerade in their sadistic ball. When we spot the manipulation, we reclaim power. Their reformed act aims not to heal, but to dupe. Let's rip off their masks so you can once and for all slam the door on further abuse. When the narcissist inevitably comes back after discarding you, it's crucial to understand their motivations. Though they may seem sweet and cherish you like you're the best thing that ever happened, it's just a facade. Their warm love bombing phase aims to hook you back into the abuse cycle. Share your experiences of being hoovered back in the comments, which hoovering patterns ring most true. If they haven't fully discarded you yet, prepare for what's coming by watching this video. If you feel confused whether to take them back, I recommend watching this video explaining the narcissist's manipulation techniques to reel you back in through fake charm after devaluing you. The link of this video, What Forces Narcissists to Hoover and Revalue After Devaluation and Discard, is in the description below. I'll unpack the sinister motivations behind these schemes, analyze the mental chess games they weaponize to position their pawns, and share vital steps to prevent revictimization. United, we'll shed light on their darkness to shutter their horrors for good. The script they puppeteer to haunt you again against your will ends now.
Why emotionally needy narcissists hoover?
When the two-faced narcissist resurfaces, proclaiming undying love after months of silence or abuse, no, it's not spontaneous affection, but a hoovering ruse fueled by desperate ego needs. Hoovering, a manipulation tactic where emotional vampires suck former victims back into the vortex of abuse through feigned remorse, gushing flattery, and outlandish promises after a period of absence. What lurks behind the curtain pulling their strings? Why do these horror shows go on tour again and again?
1. Narcissistic supply shortages.
Like junkies, desperate for a hit of attention, narcissists grow frantic when supply sources dry up. Hoovering quickly restores their fix. After emotionally bleeding intimate partners dry, one Lothario love-bombed former conquests to ensure backup narcissistic supply. A social climber lacking authentic friendships returned to once useful contacts when her status tanked, smothering them in flattery to regain prestige by association. Following retirement, a limelight-addicted politician manipulated supporters into igniting a draft campaign to quench his thirst for relevancy and acclaim.
2. Bruised egos.
Narcissistic wounds spur hoovering, manufacturing external admiration, resuscitates their gasping ego. After public embarrassment over shady financial dealings, one puffed-up executive hoovered his ex-wife to milk her presence so he could maintain his facade of success. When passed over for a promotion at work, a boss hoovered subordinates to convene an absurd emergency meeting solely to soothe his battered ego through sycophantic stroking. After drastically losing social media followers due to controversial comments, an influencer hoovered her ex, begging him to orchestrate an online publicity campaign so she could regain lost narcissistic supply.
3. Revenge goals.
Some scheming narcissists hoover solely to inflict harm, weaponizing feigned affection to cut the deepest. One chameleon hoovered her former best friend under the guise of making amends after years of estrangement. In truth, she had grown vengefully obsessed with sabotaging her ex-friend's success. When his ex-wife found happiness with a new partner, a narcissistic cop surfaced attempting to befriend the man just to feed him fabricated stories designed to sow seeds of distrust and destroy the new relationship. A woman from a narcissist's past hoovered him back solely to exploit his lingering emotional investment in her. Once he dropped everything, leaving his family to travel across the country to see her, she stood him up at the airport without explanation to devastate him.
4. Self-delusion.
Narcissists sometimes believe their own well-crafted lies. One girlfriend, who had previously abruptly discarded her partner over minor disagreements, later resurfaced, insists she wanted to reconcile and have the family they had planned. Yet her continued hot-cold affection highlighted her phony pretenses. After a painful divorce initiated by his narcissistic wife, she hoovered the man back by claiming she had found God and now recognized the error of her ways and how terribly she had treated him. Sadly, the spiritual charade only lasted a few short months before her abusive patterns toward him resumed. When his current girlfriend broke things off due to his chronic infidelity, a narcissistic playboy hoovered his ex-wife, trying to convince her he had changed and now prioritized family values, only to cheat on her once more within weeks of their remarriage. In every scenario, the all-consuming concern is securing narcissistic supply to prop up their feeble ego, not nurturing real human bonds.
Sneaky hoovering strategies.
Armed with an arsenal of exploitation strategies, these crafty illusionists have plenty of tactics to dupe their victims. They know your emotional vulnerabilities and ruthlessly weaponize them. Here are some of their most insidious hoovering techniques.
1. Triangulation.
Can't directly access a target? Use allies as proxy flying monkeys to prep the terrain for re-entry. After months, no contact with her narcissistic mother, a woman suddenly heard from mom's family member talking up happy memories the estranged mother herself hoovered days later. When his ex-girlfriend continually blocked attempted hoovering efforts, a narcissistic man manipulated her sister into arranging a chance encounter ambush so he could make dramatic pleas to get her back. A woman asked friends to relay fabricated stories to her ex-boyfriend, falsely claiming she had terminal cancer and only months to live in order to stir his sympathies so she could hoover him back under deceitful pretenses.
2. Instant idealization.
Bombard targets with over-the-top praise and flattery to plant emotional hooks, enabling future manipulation. An ex flooded his former girlfriend with adoring messages, expensive luxuries, and desires to finally introduce her to family after years together. This intense love bombing paved the way for further controlling behavior down the road. A narcissistic husband wanting to hoover his wife after she uncovered yet another cheating scandal showed up unannounced to her workplace with an extravagant floral arrangement and a 10-foot-tall teddy bear, professing his renewed devotion in front of all her colleagues. After ghosting on a decade-long friendship without explanation, a narcissistic woman hoovered her former best friend by sending her a $5,000 designer purse with a card praising how much she valued their special connection in her life.
3. Playing the victim.
Feign vulnerability to stir sympathy so you let your guard down. A shady entrepreneur hoovered his wealthy ex-wife, claiming he desperately needed investment advice on a promising business venture, merely to exploit her empathy to con hundreds of thousands of dollars he then used to fund his mistress's cosmetic surgery. A woman told her ex-boyfriend she had been diagnosed with anxiety and depression to stir his sympathies during her hoovering efforts, despite never having visited a doctor. In reality, she sought to lay the groundwork for an excuse for future abusive behavior. When repeatedly blocked, trying to hoover his most recent ex, a narcissistic man set up fake social media profiles as her supposed best friend, claiming she was back in rehab needing support. Knowing private details of her past addiction struggles, he was now weaponizing.
4. Grand gestures.
Big dramatic displays aimed to blind victims with false romance to distract from red flags. An ex-boyfriend hoovered his partner's office with a flash mob proposing renewing their dysfunctional relationship for the world to see a smokescreen distracting from the fact he had relapsed into alcoholism and remains unemployed. A married narcissist attempting to woo back his wife after she uncovered his affair hoovered her workplace by having a singing telegram deliver a dozen roses every hour, begging for forgiveness in increasingly elaborate displays. After refusing to marry his decade-long girlfriend, despite her pleas that it was her dying father's wish, the narcissistic man hoovered her after the breakup by staging a fake wedding ceremony replete with all their friends and family present as surprised guests. but there was no actual marriage license.
5. Future faking.
Crafting illusory visions of a shared future fosters false hope and keeps targets emotionally invested. A woman hoovered her girlfriend back into the dysfunctional relationship using elaborate promised dreams about the children they would someday adopt and idyllic country home they would own to manipulate long-term planning while continuing her chronic infidelity in the present day. A friend attempting to hoover a former friend she had previously ghosted painted vivid fictional stories of cross-country hiking trips and spiritual retreats they would take together, without following through on simply meeting for coffee. After learning his wife filed for divorce, a narcissist threatened suicide to essentially coerce her into counseling sessions where he wove hopeful tales of world travel, enriching their relationship in poignant middle age, years a stark and painful contrast to the reality of his current domestic violence arrest for beating her.
6. Guilt trips.
Make targets responsible for the narcissist's emotions to blackmail reconciliation. When pleading his case, failed to convince his newly separated wife to take him back, a narcissistic husband faked his own suicide, leaving behind a note falsely blaming her, which read, "My blood is on your hands." In reality, he had simply wounded himself slightly for show in a bid at emotional extortion to get her to resume their dysfunctional relationship. After being dumped, a narcissistic teenager threatened to kill herself if her boyfriend did not come over right away. When he refused, she sent him gruesome photos, implying she had slit her wrists in order to manipulate him through guilt to hoover him back into the toxic dynamic. Angry, his wife was proceeding with the divorce. A narcissist sent her disturbing text messages threatening to kill himself and their family dog if the split was not halted, weaponizing guilt and fear so she would feel obliged to reconcile. We get reeled back into the narcissistic vortex again and again because the push-pull dynamic fosters a trauma bond, making us subconsciously willing to endure even more cruelty just to reattain that initial intoxicating high when we first tasted their counterfeit charm. By educating ourselves on why and how narcissists hoover, perhaps we can find the mental strength to put down the hopium pipe of false hope forever. Let's rip back the curtain so we stop falling for the same cheap illusionist tricks over and over at the expense of our precious time, money, resources, and above all human dignity.
Slamming the door on narcissist hoovering for good.
While we can't control ambush appearances or flying monkey conspiracies, we can control how we respond in ways that decisively shut down further abuse.
1. Name the game.
Expecting authentic caring from those dwelling in distorted fantasy is foolish. Spot the agenda accurately so we can sidestep attempts to meet it.
2. Enforce no contact.
Deny them leverage or angles into our lives. Even frustrated responses fuel their ego charade. Deflate them by blocking all access.
3. Call out delusions.
Debating their false narratives drags us into quicksand. Live your truth while completely ignoring bogus claims.
4. Starve reactions.
Hunger for emotional reactions perpetuates drama. Act indifferent and ice them out. The more we recognize hoovering as a maneuver to meet narcissistic needs, not express genuine care, the faster their illusionist tricks lose power over us. Spotlighting bogus intentions neuters manipulation. By thoughtfully naming games rather than playing on their chaotic turf, we regain control. Demand the humanity you deserve going forward. The time for guilt trips has permanently expired. Let's unite to turn the lights up on manipulation so we can step forward unshackled into new chapters where darkness loses its grip for good. I hope you found validation in the shared hoovering experiences here. Please continue commenting your story to help others heal. If you still struggle after being discarded, don't hesitate to reach out for support. I want to keep this conversation going to expose narcissistic abuse. Your financial contributions make that possible through donations or patronage. All support goes toward resources to empower survivors and amplify their stories. Don't forget to subscribe and press thanks if these videos have eased your pain. Your generosity allows me to be here, so together we can help survivors rediscover their wings after narcissistic abuse kept them grounded too long. I believe in you and your ability to get through this.